Welcome everyone to the first ever Simcoe County Rovers podcast. My name's Jack Hughes. Today I'm joined by Ryan Eakin. Ryan, how are you?
Not bad. Thanks for having me, Jack.
Yeah, no problem. I'm looking forward to it. And we're also joined by a very special guest. We've got Julian de Guzman, the co-founder, the sporting director, and president of the football club. Julian, how are you doing today?
Great, Jack. Thanks for having me on board.
No problem. And it's a very exciting time, very exciting weekend coming up for everyone involved with the club. And I think we should probably start, Julian, with some questions about all the things that have happened off the pitch before we get to the stuff on it. So firstly, how did you get involved with creating the Rovers in the first place?
Yeah, this takes me back to 2013 when League One just started. I was in Toronto at the time, and with a good buddy of mine, and we were kind of enjoying the fact that there was semi-pro soccer in the city, and just kind of talked about maybe one day this could be us. Now you fast forward, over 10 years, and here we are. And I was actually still involved with this same gentleman who now operates AI Orangeville with the Academy Group, and he represents our Simcoe County Rovers reserve teams. So we were able to not just put ourselves together, but form a really strong group of individuals who are passionate about the game, have played the game as well, such as Atiba Hutchinson, Janine Becky, Danielle Henry, Kyle Laren, individuals I've played with and worked with, and have the same beliefs based on what we want to do in terms of getting back to the game. And then Peter Racco, Will DeVillis. I mean, I've had a chance to meet those two in the 1812 Barrie project, and learned about the individuals as well, and what the intention was based on what they want to see with the game evolving and growing in the Huronia district. So, just the three of us, Peter, Will, and myself, we were able to spend well over a year and a half, almost 2 years together, and we really made sense of how to push this idea in a region that needed it, with 10,000 kids that played the game, 17 different clubs in the region. How do we start something really kind of different and unique? And I think that one of the first steps was bringing those individuals I mentioned who've played the game or currently playing the game for the national team involved in a project like this. And speaking with those players and working with them, and they eventually were bought in with the idea of starting a semi-pro soccer team. We eventually formed the Simcoe County Rovers. I mean, it wasn't an easy process. It took time with the league, even understanding what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it. So we were patient about it. We had to deal with the hurdles. Finally got accepted. We have the support as well of the Huronia District Soccer Association as well. They've been behind us from day one. So it just all started to come together, and then before you know it, we started forming not just a brand, but a solid team. With the staff such as Jason Beckford, who's played the game and who's our manager for the men's team, and then Audra Sherman, who's a sporting director for the women's side. And Audra is someone I've worked with at Ottawa Fury for over 4 years now. Yeah, so she's somebody I know very well, and she has a very strong hold on women's soccer. And I think when you look at not just the all-star ownership group, but also the group of coaching staff, it's a pretty serious group of individuals. And then the players that you currently see in terms of the announcements from both men's and women's. I mean, on paper, it just shows that we want to be not just a team that participates, but also competes, and we want to achieve something. Being that we're new to the region, it's another sport now for Barrie fans to follow, and we want to be able to bring excitement and success as we want to grow this. And who knows, the next 3 or 4 years, this is probably a different conversation we're having based on a semi-pro soccer team. The goal is to eventually become a pro soccer team down the road. So, but it's been at the end of the day enjoyable and a dream come true.
Julian, you kind of touched on that in that answer, but what attracts you the most about Simcoe County?
Yeah, it's an untapped market. I've had a chance to learn a lot about the region. Working with the 1812 in the early stages, and I got my head around the idea of, I said, there's something there. There has been something there in the past when you look at Devon Kerr, who's, from the area, and she's, plays her sport out in the, women's professional league. And Carl Howarth, another guy who's from the Barrie area. And I worked with him, played with him at Ottawa Fury, and he's back now in Ottawa playing for Atletico Ottawa. So, there's talent there. It's just a matter of, what pipeline and how do you create that pathway for the talent in the region. And it's not even just the players, it's also for the coaches. How do you grow better coaches in the region? And, the numbers clearly show there's a lot of players who play the sport. It's a matter of now, what standard and level do you present? And, in the Simcoe area, there's no high performance soccer, there's no semi-pro soccer, there's no professional soccer. And the direction soccer is going in this country, I think it's the perfect time to really get the attention of those big believers of the game, one, but then two, those who don't really know much about the game. They're becoming fans of the game very fast. And, I think it's the perfect time to really introduce something like this at this level, where you will find the support and the backing of it. And you will continue now to grow something that makes sense in terms of a talent pathway, in terms of coaches' education. And you look down the road, where after Qatar 2022 and 2026 World Cup, in our home country, it's going to be kind of a soccer crazy city, down the road, when you look at the potential and the opportunities you give. So it won't be just a handful of players that are coming from the area that are playing pro. It's going to be well in the double digits, both men's and women's side.
Yeah, I completely agree, especially the pathway with players in the Simcoe County area. There's definitely the talent there. And we see with League One, obviously there's the talent. There's a ton of talent and a ton of Toronto, but I think providing that pathway to players and kids a little bit northern in Ontario is definitely a great opportunity. You mentioned earlier some of the support that you've got from the national team players. You've got Atiba in there. You've got Danielle Henry, Kyle Lair, and Janine Becky. How did those conversations go, and how did they get involved as well?
During my playing days with Atiba, Danielle, Kyle, I know they have the ideas. I had the idea too as a player, but you just don't have the time, or you don't know how to get started with that, right? So, and I've worked with Janine throughout the Euros 2020 on TSN. So I got a chance to meet her. And I've played with her brother, Drew Becky, in Ottawa Fury. So I've had multiple conversations with Drew, Janine, and, what the sport means to them. And you look at everything those guys have done on an international level. And it's something that's still missing in terms of, why can't, we share our stories and kind of grow something to make another Janine Becky believe in becoming a women's gold medalist, or another Tiba Hutchinson, qualifying for a World Cup. So, it's a matter of giving back and just creating that platform. And all of them clearly understand that's something that needs to happen. It should happen not just between those names that I've mentioned, but it could definitely happen with many more current professionals who are playing the game, and maybe give back to different parts of Ontario, different parts of Canada, and untapped markets as well. So I've had many conversations, and it's just a matter of them understanding, and it's a matter of someone, having the time to take the lead on that. And, now that I'm retired, I could sit in a chair for, hours of the day and go through meetings and learn about what's needed, and the behind the scenes that happens in a semi-pro soccer team. And it's a lot of work. I've had the experience doing that as a GM at Ottawa Fury, and that was kind of my education and a way to understand, okay, these are the things that you need, the people involved. And between myself, Peter, Will, we've created a strong team that covers all of the pieces that you would need to really push not just a League One team, but a team that's going to compete and do well. So they trusted it. The group believed that I could take the lead and deal with that, and I have enough intelligence behind it. So that's where I was able to gain the trust of Janine, Danielle, Atiba, and Kyle. And we're always in touch, and we have our meetings every now and then to give them reports and also educate them on what it takes to run a semi-pro soccer team. And it's been going really well, and we're enjoying it, and we certainly can't wait for the next couple of days.
You mentioned Jason and Audra in terms of running both the men's and women's programs. So what went into those two hirings for you when it comes to just believing that those two can run the programs at the level that you expect from this organization?
Yeah, Audra, she's a special individual who, there's not many females that have the coaching license she has in the country, and her knowledge of the game, just in general, it's more than your average a female that knows and watches soccer. So she's a special one to have her, and I've worked with her, in Ottawa. I learned about her. I know what her drive is and what her passion is, and we see things very similarly in terms of vision and growing something for soccer in a region such as Simcoe. So it was a no-brainer bringing her on board. We speak the same language, and she's going to do an amazing thing for the women's program. And then for Jason Beckford, he's a guy I've got to learn more about. It was always interesting to have somebody like that who has coached the game professionally in the UK. But he's also lived in the UK. He's also lived in the UK, where he's come to Canada and been here for about 10 years and never really understood the infrastructure of soccer in Canada. So it was hard for him to, commit to any semi-pro team and based on his background and his wealth of playing the sport for Man City, one of the highest levels in the world, and biggest teams in the world, he, has a lot to give back. And he's always wanted to do it. So showed him what the group was about and kind of broke down our intention, and right away he was bought in. He said, yeah, this is something that makes sense. This is something I remember being involved with in Europe, and it relates to his language of football and what he believes in. So his qualifications, speaks for itself. He has a UEFA license, and then he's also a coach educator of the game. He does that for OSA, and that's something he wants to bring to the region as well as coaches. Audra is somebody who wants to, create the camps and clinics for the youth as well, and she's done that in Ottawa, and that's something she's been able to do for us, and we want to be able to present that in the next coming year. So between the both of them, it's an all-star team of coaches, of innovators, and I think these two will really add more spice and grow the culture of soccer to a region that has that appetite for the game. And I like I said, I believe we'll start to see a clearer pathway and a pipeline that makes sense for soccer in the region, and that's something hopefully many other regions throughout Canada could emulate and learn about and apply to their districts, and hopefully it becomes a trend throughout the country.
Right. And I was talking to Jason earlier this week, and he mentioned how he wants to tactically play a successful type of style of football, at the same time play an entertaining style. How do you balance those two in terms of wanting to also have success, but also at the same time entertain the fans in their first season?
Yeah, it's important that when fans come out there and they watch soccer for the first time, and at this level, they understand what they're watching, and the results is a big piece too. Just as you mentioned, entertaining, but also, kind of a winning, attacking minded football. And that's what Jason brings to the table. He's done it in the UK, and that's something he strongly believes in. He's played for teams that have been about that type of football. And this is exactly what he wants to bring to Barrie for the men's side. So, he's he has something that fans will enjoy for sure. The players that we've introduced and signed have that appetite and also the right profile based on what Jason brings. And the one thing I could relate to in terms of fans, it goes back to when I came to TFC in 2009. It was the first time I played soccer professionally in the country, but I've been out of the country for about 13 years, and you could see the fans not really kind of understanding. They love the sport, but probably doesn't know too much about the sport of soccer in terms of your average fan. And I think it'll be the same for Barrie, but it's a matter of educating the fans. And you look at the fans, your soccer fans today, much more educated soccer fans. They understand the sport. They know what to expect, and that's what we want to introduce into this market. And Jason, nails it when he talks about not just bringing entertaining soccer, but soccer that fans will like and appreciate and learn more about and talk more about and look forward to, at Georgian College to watch.
You mentioned earlier about seeing through your playing days and in your management, seeing what needs to happen in order to run a successful club. What are some of the lessons that you've taken from your career so far in terms of setting the club up for success just right from day one?
Yeah, the one thing I mean definitely learn from is, you learn from others. That's for sure. That was kind of my pathway, not just as a player, but also as a coach, as a general manager. You lean on those who've done it, whether it's a friend, whether it's somebody you've played with or played for. I've had the opportunity, and I'm fortunate enough to pick up the phone and just, talk to these individuals and speak with them. And in terms of developing a soccer team, I look up to one of my former teammates who's currently doing it, and he's done it successfully, and that's Rob Friend from Pacific FC. So that's just one name out of many others I've spoken to, and really understand on what it takes to build a team and start something like this. So I'm still learning, and I won't stop learning. That's the one thing I've accepted in the sport as a president, as a sporting director, just as a fan of the game. You're going to always want to learn, and you're driven, and you're just excited. But what allows me to do that is because I'm so passionate about this game. And, my passion for this game remains the same. Just as I was a kid that one day wanted to play professionally and had the chance to do it against Real Madrid, Barcelona, Brazil. Now here I am, still passionate, just the exact same way as an owner for a soccer team in Canada. So this is exactly what pushes me. And, I hope that it will work out where, this is something that many others look up to and one day want to start for themselves. And as of now, I'm still getting phone calls from, former players I've played with. And, the question is like, Jules, how do you start a soccer team? So it's happening, and we'll see more of this happening. And, I'm absolutely thrilled that I have the opportunity to do this.
And we've seen the product of what League One and playing and offering pathways to these players. We've seen how many players in the national team, both on the men's and women's side, have come through playing in League One. How do you expect the club to develop these players? Obviously, they're going to be playing in League One, but you've also got the U21 and reserve sides as well. How do you integrate that and finding a balance in order to create a pathway, maybe not straight to the League One level, but even from the U21s to make that jump up?
Yeah, so off the bat, we've built an affiliation and relationship with Barrie Soccer Club, Aurora Football Club, and AIFC. And, just between those pool of players, you're going to see a lot of players come through those pipelines automatically and, have their chances with reserve teams and perform well. And, year one, we obviously want to set the bar high. So we've brought on board players who are former pro players who, have played in League One and had success, and been able to put a strong performing team, both on the men's and women's. But down the road, we want to start to see a lot of the players come through the reserve teams, both men's and women's, and get those chances. And, year 2, year 3, you'll start to see more of those names make up the first team for Simcoe County Rovers, both men's and women's. So, that's kind of the approach, off the bat from year 1, year 2. And then you'll start to see throughout the region, other teams and organizations buying into this and liking this and wanting their kid to be a part of something, on a high level. So, that's where we want to really grow the market and send out the message that, we are here to help, and we are here to offer that opportunity. And again, it's not just from a player standpoint where we want to introduce players, but we also want to help coaches and help, grow those individuals and go back to their clubs and pass that message on to the players that they are coaching. So that's those are the very important pieces. And we want to see going into year 1, year 2, because by year 3, you're going to start to see the promotion relegation unfold in 2024 for League One, and we want to be the team in the top division, which is League One Premier. So it's a matter of us, one, making sure we set the standards high from the get-go, but 2, it's executing that and having right players come on board, and then any young individual that's playing for the U21 teams or the U19s, they're looking up to the first team players, and their aim is to be involved of the men's team or the women's team and be a player of that. But we want to start to see that number grow going into 2024, where most of the players in that first team are made up of players from our reserve teams.
Right. And you look at this team, it's an expansion team. There's no draft to have, expansion players come in. Just how do you guys go about finding players in terms of, obviously you have connections, Jason has connections, Audra has connections, but as a group, how do you guys decide, what kind of players you guys want to go after?
Yeah, I would say in December, we had a database of up to 100 names. So we had our coaching staff in place, I would say in the summer in 2021. And we already started to pinpoint and formulate kind of a scouting report on a weekly basis. We would meet up with the coaches on a week-to-week basis and just go over players and, recruit from League One seasons in the past, recruit from CPL seasons, and speak with agents. So, collectively, we've been doing this since last year, and our database of players now is in our systems, and we've had to narrow it down as we get closer to preseason, which kicked off in early March, and we wanted to throw out the open trials and start having players join those sessions, and then it's a matter of coaches now just cutting it down to the group that he wants to work with or she wants to work with. So it was a process. It's something that we didn't rush into. We took our time. We turned over every stone and made sure that this is the right fit, this is the right player. We spoke with all the players as well. I've jumped on calls with them, had meetings physically face to face with the player and learn about them and making sure, yeah, the highlights look great, but then, what's this player's intention and what do they really want? And, if it's a young player, it could be a player that's still ambitious and they want to become pro. So that's kind of the, message, and, we create something for that individual, say, okay, this is, you're a good player, you fit the system, but what's your intent? And then we have the players who are maybe closer to the end of their careers. What's the idea for them post-career? Maybe it's going for your coaching badges, maybe it's front office, work for a fairly new team. So that's always a good thing to see, where we've seen it in the past with many clubs where players have played for the club and then now they've graduated into coaching or they're in the front office. And that's something we want to present for those players who are maybe towards the end of their career. And that's what we represent, is just creating opportunities both on the playing field, off the pitch as well. And it took a process of meeting with these individuals and learning about them and making sure they fit the profile.
And when it comes to some of these individual qualities that these players share, obviously they're all really good players. And like you mentioned, they're good. You have to figure out what they're like, what their intentions are. What are some of these qualities that the current roster and the current squad show?
Oh, I mean, you could see, especially on the men's side, we have players who are former MVPs of the league from last season, top scorers as well. On the women's side as well, we've had players who have won championships in the League One. NCAA players, for instance, ex-pro players in the CPL, NWSL as well. So, I think in terms of what their stats show, it's already attractive. And then, in terms of their actual qualities, we have a guy like Rashawn Phillips, for instance, who played for Masters and played in the Canadian Championship, but he just has that knack for scoring goals. And we have Sean Claude as well, who has scored a large amount of goals for teams in the leagues in the US professionally for Detroit. He's played for Atletico Ottawa. So, there's going to be all types of qualities, but again, I think qualities that we've seen on a professional level, qualities we've seen at an NCAA level as well. and qualities we've seen players use to get their teams to win the League One and then find themselves playing in the Canadian Championship. And those are the stories that these individuals and players will share in their locker room, and other players will look up to and want to be like one day. So that's always important. Leadership is huge for me. Finding leaders of the game and growing them. That's always been my job, is to, be a leader, but also create, bigger leaders below you. And that's kind of the approach we have for our men's and women's team. We've identified our leadership group, and, just looking at the list of names of those leaders and our captains, they're going to grow a young captain coming out of Barrie one day. Right. So that's what we want to see. And those are the qualities, we've learned about every player we've recruited.
Julian, you
And we
mentioned a
know-
guy, you mentioned a guy like Phillips, for example, in terms of, a guy like that has a knack for scoring goals. Just who are some of the players on both perhaps the men's and women's side that fans should be really excited to see this season?
Yeah. I think Dessa, we just announced her from the women's side. I mean, she has an amazing track record, playing with Vaughan, Guyanese women's national team. Yasmin Jamison, who's representing the Jamaican national team as well, who's a goalkeeper for the women's side. I mean, those are some cool things to look forward to when you look at the names that we've put together on the women's side. And on the men's side, we have players like Jordan Dover, who's played in the USL Championship, and he's probably the most the highest value player in the entire league, just based on his background. And he's only 27 years old. I've had a chance to play against Jordan Dover when I was the GM for Ottawa Fury, and he was always one of the better players, and if not one of the best wing backs in the entire league during my time in the USL. So to have him on board and that type of quality, I mean, he's going to bring tons of experience and excitement to the team. And then you look at even a guy like Ethan Beckford. He's probably been one of our most outstanding players in this preseason camp thus far. And, he's has experience playing with TFC in their youth teams, and then played in England and the lower leagues as well. But given the stuff that he's done so far for Rovers in the last 2 months, there's already talk about him amongst the other teams in League One about who's this player. So, there's going to be these type of guys, and then there's going to be the odd player that kind of just comes out of nowhere. I think that's going to be the exciting one for both men's and women's, and from a fan's perspective, like, who's this player? And Aiden Nahara, very local guy. He was a guy that kind of came in quiet and no one really talked about, but his last 2 matches has been absolutely outstanding for the team, and he set up a couple good goals and good chances, as well as that number 10 player. So, those are the type of guys we'll look forward to seeing on the playing field. And I think that's the excitement just in terms of a soccer fan coming out of Barrie. You're going to see this on the weekends at Georgian College.
And we know it's a really, really talented squad that we've assembled. Aiden O'Hara, also a Barrie native as well, which is always good to see somebody growing up in Barrie and taking on that role. What would a successful season look like for the club, both on and off the field?
Yeah, off the field, I think it just starts off by having that right presentation. We're creating a brand. We want to be one of the biggest brands in soccer in Canada. And by doing so, you just want to have the right representation, so it comes down to, the home matches. How do those games look? How do we compete with other teams in the league? I think Electric City, for instance, is doing such a great job. They're about to kick off in the next hour, and they have 2 full buses of fans going to Guelph. Those type of things are the things that we want to follow and make it cool and fun and unique. So from our off the field standpoint, it's what we present, at Georgian College, and how we do it on a professional level. And you're going to hear me use that term professional as opposed to semi-pro, because that's the approach that you want to carry yourselves in this league. And that's the approach I've learned before I even turned pro. You got to carry yourself professional before you are professional. So that's what we want to do in terms of, the off the field standpoint. You've seen the staff, you've seen the coaches that we've appointed. We've seen the brand and the badge, how it looks. All those things are going to be on a professional level for Simcoe County Rovers. And then on the field, in terms of the targets that we want to hit, we want to, for both men's and women's, you're seeing there's a lot of teams. There's about 20 teams on the women's side, most ever for League One, 22 teams on the men's side. So a lot of football being played this year. And in terms of where we want to end up, if you look at 2024, if we want to end up in the top division in the League One Premier, it's a matter of collecting the most points in this season and also next season, and accumulating those 2 points and ending up in the top 12. So year one, we need to finish top 6. That's kind of the objective and the direction I've given both men's and women's. Realistically, I think that should be good for us. But I think if you want to stretch it, we want to be able to host our fans a playoff match, and by doing so is finishing top 4. So if you could finish top 4, we get to host a playoff match at home. But top 6 would be the ideal situation for both men's and women's to finish.
Awesome. And we'll ask you the last question here. We got a few minutes left. In terms of, you talked about earlier, eventually becoming a professional soccer team. Just what's the end goal for this franchise? I don't want to put a limit on what you think is the end goal, but overall, what would you like to accomplish, 3, 5, 6, 10 years from now?
Yeah, it'll be great to celebrate our 5th anniversary as a professional team. That's the target. And as we're growing this and things are happening fast, we're having a lot of conversations with investors and big sponsors who look at this project and they're already talking about, this should be CPL. And, we agree. Yeah, you're right. We want to get to CPL, but it's a matter of how we do that. And, it's building those right platforms. And one of those platforms, it's, making sure we're well connected in the community. This makes sense that, soccer is a place to, be and have in Barrie. And, we have baseball, we have hockey, adding another fun sport. Soccer is that sport. So we want to knock this out the park in the first 2 years. We want to, end up in the League One Premier Division. And we want to do that not just on the field, but off the field where, there's probably stadium talks now we're talking about. There's our own facility, those type of things, and even maybe growing our own academy, right? So there's a lot of things that we want to fulfill over the next 3 to 4 years. And, as we're doing that, then I think down the road, you'll start to see that we will form ourselves to be a professional club. And then that's when we're ready to strike and apply ourselves to the big leagues, which is the CPL.
Julian, thanks for coming on today. I greatly appreciate it. And over Jack, he appreciates it too. So thanks for coming on today. We're looking forward to what's going to be an exciting 2022 season.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it. And let's bring on the Waves.